Hey, what is up, HoopRipz? Welcome to another episode. And big news, our cameras are on. You can see our faces if you so choose. Our beautiful faces. Mike has bedhead, Ryan has codhead, and we're just ready to go. Episode's here, and we got a good show today. We're going to kick it off. The title of this show, named by yours truly, Ryan Abriel, is Straight Facts.
Straight facts.
Guys, come on.
So
be sensitive.
But first, let me introduce, as always, the coach, Ryan Abriel. Hey, Ryan.
Hey, Dozer.
Hey. And Mike, what's your hoodie? WNC. What's that hoodie, Mike? How are you?
Western Nevada College baseball.
Shout out.
It's not only hoops over here, Doze.
Not only hoops. Shout out Western Nevada College people.
Hey, go Wildcats.
Wildcats.
Yeah, it was close.
That's close. It was close. Hey, we got a good show. We're going to talk a little fact or butt. Ryan's going to run the boys through, get our takes on some things. We're going to talk NBA All-Star 2021 now that the rosters and some injured reserves are starting to, names be selected, guys be replaced like KD and AD and all those guys. We'll talk about that. And we're going to bring it home. We're going to talk a little bit of cards. We love cards on this show, so we're going to talk. Ryan's going to kind of lead us through a little bit of a download on if you're looking to get into collecting, what brands are what brands are good, what cards should you be looking for, what prisms, what sort of things should you be looking for in a card, what makes a good card. So we'll jump into that.
Not Doze's college card, I'll tell you that. Not worth any.
That's a good story. Shout out to my wife for picking up that one at Target one day.
Target,
easy, blame the wife. So, yeah, that's what we got. That's the show. It's going to be fun. So stick around, hang out. Mike, are you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
All right. Ryan, take us home. Fact or butt? Let's get it rolling.
Yeah, well, if Dirty Mike and the boys are ready, we can kick this off.
Just one boy, Dirty Mike and the boy.
Okay, fine. Dirty Mike and the boy. This segment – I'm a big fan of. I'm always going to kick it off the same way with the same question, just because I do feel like it's a very important question to ask the bros. Fact or butt? Fact or butt? Doze hates COD. Mike, you go first.
It's a fact. There's no explanation needed.
Yes, I agree.
I think we realized that this weekend how much he hates it.
Yeah.
Where his priorities lie.
I would argue you hate it too after this weekend, but
over family.
Regardless, I agree. I would 100% agree. Doze, what do you think?
Doze loves COD. I just hit the chair thing. I just fell down. Doze loves COD. Doze loves COD with the bros. I didn't play this weekend because I was on, an anniversary trip with my wife. So sorry.
Never heard of it.
COD
I
over
did
family.
tune in for about 30 seconds on Twitch at Mike PDX5 and watched Mike lay a full clip into the side of a house and then yell he ripped a guy.
He's a bullet. He's a bullet.
Dude. I hit him once or twice, and I said ripped because I haven't played in months, and he was absolutely ripped in my opinion.
I landed a bullet. I ripped him.
Yep. Ripped his shoulder off.
Yes, Doze loves COD. If we go into the app, you'll see how much Doze loves COD.
I don't know, Doze. You got to top 750 hours of total playing time.
Is that what you're at now?
100p. It's probably close to 775 after this weekend. But
how many hours are in a decade? Have you closed down?
I don't know, man. I don't know if I want to really dive into it that much and say it too loud with my wife in the other room. But I do think I play a lot of COD. But overall, I think we all agree on this fact that Doze hates COD. So
yeah, it's actually not even fact or fiction, or fact or butt. It's just fact.
Yes.
Hey, I got in. I played a little with the guy Dwinell recently. I think last night or 2 nights ago.
Oh, so that was the bozo you were talking about?
Yeah, the Dozo.
He said it.
Yep, I got red receipts.
Man.
They don't lie.
We played Little Resurgence. Got second place. You hate to see it.
Yeah, that game's butt.
I would have
All right, can we get to some actual questions?
That
right
was a
now?
very
What's the
good
deal?
question. I think
the
they
deal?
all had it in the
Ryan,
back of our
I
mind.
honestly thought you were going to be like, I'm going to start off everything with this question, and you were going to ask how Doze was doing.
Oh, no, that's not a priority for Mike and I.
Never.
Yeah. Even though
We'll
Dwayne
never see
brought
that
it
on
up.
the agendas.
Yeah, it's never going to be on the agendas. Doze can't play the games. This is the first game Doze has ever played, I think,
Hey,
out of any games.
I'm just here to have
And
fun.
I think halfway through we might somehow switch it where Dose is
Yeah,
asking the question.
yeah, 100p, and that's what's the point. Okay, cool. Moving on to a real question, if that's what Dozer
yes.
wants.
See.
Fact or but? COVID-19 is behind us when it comes to its effect on NBA and the schedule. Mike, are we over the hump? Is it now no longer a major concern like it was, I would say, 6 weeks ago? Or are we still preparing ourselves for another absolute hit of COVID-19 in the NBA?
Well, you haven't been seeing stuff recently. Not as many people are sitting out as they were in the beginning of the year. I wouldn't say it's a fact that it's behind it. I would probably say but. If I had to pick one, I'd say but. There's going to be more cases going on throughout the year. I don't know if it's as the year's going on, NBA teams are getting more lenient because they're just kind of like, we got to get fans of the stands. You're seeing more teams opening up fans into the arenas and all that. Obviously, the All-Star game's happening, so it's clearly not a concern for the league. I would say it's but it's definitely not behind us. There's more to come for sure.
Damn, you hate to see it.
Yeah, hey, I hate to say it, but it's but.
Dozer, what do you think, man? Is it a fact? Are we good, or is it but that we're not good? Not even close to good.
That's straight cheeks. I don't think we're done. I don't think we're done yet. I think I saw last night that the NBA canceled their 34th game of the season so far.
Yikes.
We're not at the halfway point yet. I think they haven't released the schedule, second half schedule yet. I think we're supposed to get that soon.
No, they got it. They got it.
Oh, we did get it. We did get
Remember
it.
the Lakers play. The Lakers
Every
scrimmages are on national TV.
Yes.
Yeah.
Every
Lakers on
night.
TV every night.
is broadcasting all the Lakers games. That's right.
God,
Unreal.
but
I don't think it's behind us at all. I think I wouldn't be surprised if you see a spike after the All-Star break where guys are at home relaxing, doing whatever, going traveling. Obviously all the players traveling to Atlanta for the game. I am intrigued to see this one night of NBA All-Star or one day of NBA All-Star, all the events in one day. And just, it'll be a fun night. I'll probably just kick back and relax and watch it. But to your question, I don't think we're behind us. I think you'll see more game cancellations. I think the break will, like I said, potentially spike it up. So I'm saying fact. Which one was it? I don't remember.
I think you said but.
Do we know what team's been affected most by COVID? I feel like there's always like, maybe it's the Kings or something, or the Pacers. I feel like their games are always getting canceled.
I think it varies because like the Raptors are going through right now, big time. And I think the Bulls went through it a little bit early on. I think it really is just kind of making its way to each team in the league. So it's more of a matter of when and not if it's going to affect your franchise. So that'd be an interesting fact to look into. If you look at the standings as far as total games played, there is a difference. I think, the 76ers have played, I think, the least amount of games in the Eastern Conference because they had about a 10-day layoff early January. So, that remains to be seen, but I would say it's going to affect everybody at some point, unfortunately.
That's a fact.
Okay, cool. I think we agree on that. That is, but that we are not even close to past COVID, which fucking sucks. Fact or but? Currently, the Jazz and the 76ers are both number one in their respective conferences. Fact or but? They will finish number one by the end of the regular season. Doze, you go first in this one.
Doze first.
Dozer.
My initial reaction is that I think the Sixers will finish first and the Jazz will not. So I guess that would make the take but. However, I've been liking the Jazz. They're a team you want to root for. They haven't been able to get over that hump over the past couple of years and have, to some people's points, lacked maybe that bona fide superstar outside. Is Donovan Mitchell really that guy? And I'm pulling for him. I would love to see the Jazz get home court advantage, number one seed in the playoffs. So I'm going to just go out on a limb and say I think the Jazz are going to win the West regular season. And I guess I'll end up saying that I think it's fact. I think they're both going to win the East and the West as it stands right now.
So you basically said it was but, and then it was fact. Interesting. Yeah. Okay. Interesting.
I think that, like I said, my initial reaction was, oh man, I don't know if the Jazz can hold on to it.
And or but.
This is why Doza can't play games. I repeat, this is why he's the host only.
I like both.
Maybe both.
All the above. All D's above. So you're gonna say fact. Okay. All right. Michael, give us one answer if you could. I know it's.
I will, and it's but. The answer is but.
What?
And I think it's in the reverse from what Doze actually backtracked on from what he initially said. The Jazz. I don't think the Jazz will win the West.
What?
I don't think the Jazz will win the West. If I had to pick between the two, I would pick the Jazz to win the West and the Sixers to not win the East. I think the Nets or the Bucks will pass the Sixers at some point. I think they're only like a game or two behind. And we rip on the Sixers all the time, and we're just waiting for Doc Rivers.
Joel Embiid, man.
I know Joel's good, but you guys, the Nets are.
You guys are Doc Rivers.
The Nets are rolling.
Man.
Dude, Rivers has been gifted some squads over the years, especially with Boston. Even with LA, he had a squad, man. He had Lob City, he had CP3, and they couldn't finish the fucking job. I'm going to jump in and play my own game here. I think the Jazz do finish first in the West. I think they care more about the number 1 seed. I don't think LeBron gives 2 fucks. I think LeBron could be the 8th seed. Playoff LeBron is going to be different than regular season LeBron. I watch LeBron right now. In any other regular season, LeBron, he seemed like he doesn't really care. Like he's just kind of there, right? He's there to kind of he'll get his, he kind of jogs back on D. He'll throw up a couple of heat check threes. Obviously, he's still the best player in the world, but I think for him, he's been around the block a couple times. He knows that it's the playoffs that matter the most. Plus, they can't stay healthy, man. AD out for a few weeks, right? Without Achilles foot injury. AD is hurt every fucking season for at least a month, I feel like, in total. Fact. And then the Clippers, same thing. Kawhi was out a few games. Pandemic P was out a few games. So I would say the Jazz finished first because they want it more. But the other teams that are more veteran, they understand that seeding doesn't make a difference, especially in a COVID season when there's no home court advantage. Yes, you can allow in a couple hundred fans in some markets, but for the most part, it's going to be just like the bubble. It's going to be straight up talent, not so much who gets hyped from the crowd. And I'm going to also agree that the Sixers are going to finish 8th in the East and the Nets are going to be first by season's end. But again, that's if the Nets are healthy and don't rest players every fucking game, which it feels like.
Clip it.
Yep, clip it. So I kind of pulled a Dozer there a little bit, going back and forth here. But I do think the Nets will be first in the East, and I do think the Jazz will be first in the West.
So should we just rip around real quick and say who we think each will win the East and the West, since there was a lot of back and forth and a lot of confusion and a lot of BS on that take.
I will say Dozer confused us all. I say Jazz finish first in the West, Nets finish first in the East. Not a hot take, just fact.
Fact. Mike, what about you?
I'll say the same thing. Ryan made a good point of the Jazz actually caring. And the Sixers won't be the 8th seed, but the Nets will pass them.
Oh, dude.
You guys both say Jazz.
Hey, Doze, how are you doing?
Yeah.
Hey, Doze. Hey, Doze is good. I'm going.
All right, next question.
I don't know why I friended you guys.
I'll go Jazz Sixers. I'm just going to take the chalk how it is right now. Jazz Sixers. Joel Embiid is going to explode and win MVP.
Front runner, dude. Whatever.
Yeah, dude. Make the easy play.
Like an underdog story.
Make the easy play. Jazz is an underdog story, bro.
Yeah, it's true, but the Sixers aren't.
Sixers are too. They got Doc Rivers as their coach.
Yeah, every team has a chance against Doc Rivers. Okay, every team has a fucking chance.
New York Knicks winning the East.
Okay, that was my next question, ironically, Doze.
Let's go there.
So
shout out to Rose.
Yes, factor but. This is kind of a 2-part question. Factor but the Knicks will make the playoffs and they will be a top 4 seed in the playoffs.
Top 4.
Oh,
Mike, factor but. What do you think?
I think it's a fact that they'll make the playoffs. There's no shot that they are a top 4 seed. No shot.
Let me add this real quick. The Knicks are a game and a half ahead of the Pacers, and the Pacers are currently 9th in the East. and the Knicks are 4th. So that's going to show you just how fluid that conference is going to be between, I would say, spots 4 and 10. Yeah, the Bulls are tied,
Here's my thing.
Does it mean you're good?
Is behind the Knicks, you got the Heat, Celtics, Raptors, and Hornets. You got to think one of those teams are passing the Knicks for a top 4 seed.
The Raptors are kind of cheeks, though, this year. And the Celtics are, too. Like, they're struggling.
What is up with the Celtics, bro? They're like the only team with 2 All-Stars that's like
they're making us 500. Because we celebrate Tatum and Brown every fucking episodes. And they are struggling to be 500. So that's crazy.
What is up with the Celtics, bro? I'm saying I think the Celtics will figure it out. I think they'll pass the Knicks and get the top 4 seed. I think the Heat, like those 2 teams are too good to go an entire second half of the season at 500, in my opinion. I also think both of those teams will be involved in some trade talks around the deadline. I think the Knicks are playing great. They're maybe punching a little bit above their weight. They have a legit, most improved contender with Randall. D Rose seems to be fitting in well and loves playing back there. They're good. I agree with Mike. They'll make the playoffs. I don't think they'll have home court advantage. Did you guys see those videos of New York fans just like storming the streets last night, being above 500 at a top
crazy?
4? It's like,
they're going crazy, bro.
Like, New York, you don't deserve this. You shouldn't. What would happen if they won a title? They're not ready for this.
It's funny because I think the season this year is going to go. I think it was 72 games. They're not playing a full 82. I don't think. If I'm wrong, correct me. So I do think they're playing a shortened season. So I would say we're about halfway through the season, and the Knicks are 18 and 17. Now, if it was like 8 and 7, then I would be like, "Hey, Knicks fans, calm the fuck down." But my God, they haven't been this good in a while since they had J.R. Smith and Melo. So I think. Just because I want to play too. Now I know how Doza feels. I think it's fact they make the playoffs. I think it's they're a top 4 seed.
So we all agree.
Yeah. It isn't. Yeah. I guess I could just say that too. I agree with you both.
I agree with you, dickheads.
Wow,
Averil's feeling a little. He's feeling the woes of being the host.
This sucks, dude. But I love this segment, dude.
Hey, cool game, bro.
Yeah, I want to play. Give an extra controller.
Here's just what's not plugged in.
Yeah, I know, dude. Oh yeah, dude. Yeah.
You're that guy.
You're doing so good.
Oh, dude, I've been there, dude. Hey, yeah, you're the
you're that guy.
Right
Look,
there.
you're that guy.
Dude, I pulled on Dre so many times. Dre has thought he's C-Train in like 12 games. Let's see. So this next topic is one I'm very passionate about. Obviously, I'm going to have a hot take on this one. Loaded question, fact or butt. So recently, the Minnesota Timberwolves fired Ryan Saunders, mid-season, and they hired Chris Finch away from the Toronto Raptors.
Very rare, by the way.
Coach. And, I don't want to get into the hiring process because I don't think they did their due diligence. And a lot of players tweeted a very similar sentiment in that regard. But my question is more along the lines of typically you see when you fire a coach mid-season, you elevate an existing coach on the staff to be an interim head coach, right? However, this is the first time I've ever seen a franchise hire an assistant coach from a different franchise mid-season and him to start that very season. Factor, but is that considered betrayal? Is Chris Finch a fucking Judas for leaving the Raptors and taking his shit to Minnesota? Because that feels a little fucked up in my opinion. But I'm just going to hold my opinion till the very, very end. Mike, what do you think? Is that factor, but that's just BS? It's a bad bro move.
It's not a bad bro move.
What?
That is a good bro. That's a good bro move, dude. There are how many teams in the NBA? 30, 31? There are 30 head coaching jobs in the best league in the world, and you have a chance to go be one. You got to leave and take it. You got to leave the team and take it. Yeah, dude, it's once in a lifetime opportunity. Otherwise, they'll probably just move on, or they would have elevated David Vanderpool, which they already should have done in the first place, 100%. And then he would become the head coach. But if you're given that opportunity, and there's no way the Raptors are they're not pissed about it. There's no way. They're probably like, yeah, go do it.
It's a competitive league, though, Mike. Like, you got 30 teams trying to win a championship here.
East and West, man. East and West, maybe that helps.
I mean, there's like a non-compete here that's being signed. I mean, motherfucker.
Well, they see the Timberwolves. They're like, hey, if you want to go there, man, good fucking luck.
Body, dude. All right. You
Hey,
think
I'd
it's
be
not?
stoked. I'd be stoked to coach Anthony Edwards if I was him.
Oh, dude, he's been balling out lately, but I'll get to that later in terms of cards. But so, Mike, you don't think it's a bad bro move?
I don't think it's a bad bro move.
That's a butt
Get
take.
your
Interesting.
money. Get your
Get your
money.
money.
All right, clearly Doza is going to agree because he doesn't have his own opinion. So, Doza, go ahead.
From what I know, and I don't know a ton about Finch, but he seems to be a legit coach. He has won a G League championship. Not that that's the same as winning an NBA championship, but
Summer League's better, right?
the opportunities he's been given.
Yeah, clearly.
He's done well. Nick Nurse, a great head coach and a guy that would be great to learn from and be a mentor under or whatever. But I think he came out and said in his press conference that the Wolves are going to play fast and free moving forward, which I think is what you have to do when you have some of the guys that he has on that roster, and just let them loose. Halfway through the season, you're not going to do anything great this season. You're not making the playoffs, so you might as well just let guys play free, play fun, and see what you got. See if you can find some guys that can ball. And no, he's not a Judas. I think every player would probably agree he got his moment to be an NBA coach. Like Mike said, there's only so many of those jobs to go around, and no, he's not a Judas. Ryan is usually quick to call people Judas. So, Ryan, do you think he's a Judas?
We are surrounded by Judases. I specifically am surrounded by Judases, and you two are both Judas for not agreeing on my take here. I think that's not cool, man. It's one of those unwritten rules. I think of the NBA, like you don't leave your team mid-season, go to another team. Like, you know what I mean? Like you got all the other teams' playbook, X's and O's or X's and O's. Sorry, Mike, that was on me. You have all that in your back pocket, man. You know what I mean? Like and to Mike's point about Vanderpool, like he was next man up or next person up, and as far as being a head coach, and I think that's why I think I'm more butthurt that the fact that Finch is leaving Toronto to coach another franchise midseason, but also it was done so quickly that I don't think the due diligence in the process was done in as thoroughly as possible to vet all the candidates. You know what I mean? Like I look at the NFL and have a lot of respect for the Rooney Rule, right? Interviewing a coach, I think an African-American candidate is part of every process in the NFL for a head coaching position. I would love to see that be implemented in the NBA or across all leagues as far as having diversity among candidates. And I don't know if there's a formal rule in place that does enforce that, but if there was, you definitely probably didn't see it in this case. Or if it wasn't, widely publicized. Normally, it's pretty public as far as who the coaching candidates are for head coaching vacancies, but this case it was done so quickly. It was as if they almost had a deal in place before they even fired Ryan Saunders. So I have a lot of issues. I think more so with how it went down. But I would say if I'm a head coach and my coach leaves the coach another franchise midseason, I would be actually that would bother me a little bit. You know what I mean? Because I'm trying to teach him. I would feel used and abused. So Mike or anybody else who coaches underneath me, don't get any ideas, motherfucker. Or else you're blocked.
I would think people on the Timberwolves staff are probably the most bitter in this whole situation, not the Toronto Raptors staff.
It does maybe seem like there was some conversations going on, maybe offline, or they knew their guy. They figured out who their guy was, and they went and got him. But yeah, I don't know. It's a tough situation for, like Mike said, the T-Wolves staff. But at the end of the day, got to get your money. If you're Finch, get your coaching job.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
I just
lock
hope
it in.
A dangerous precedent for the league going forward, but we shall see. Last question here. Yesterday it was reported that Houston Rockets guard Victor Oladipo's turned down a 2-year, $45 million extension, rightfully so. He'll be an unrestricted free agent this summer. But Victor Oladipo's will re-sign with the Houston Rockets, regardless of the contract and money situation. But he will be a Rocket to start next season. Factor but. Dose, what do you think?
Dose. I think it's a but. I don't think he'll stay with the Rockets. He didn't seem like he was all that excited to go there. With Boogie leaving, he probably thinks he's worth more money than that. We haven't seen Oladipo be Oladipo in a couple of years, at least the one that, was dominating for the Pacers for those couple of years. And maybe not able to take that next step. And the injury obviously slowed him down to some extent, but I don't think you're going to see him with the Rockets. I think it'll probably be a situation where he wants more money. The Rockets say, you're not worth it. and off you go kind of thing. So I'll say but and then leave it at that.
Mike, what do you think, buddy?
I think it's but too. He's not staying with the Rockets. I said from the very get-go when he got traded to the Rockets that there was no way he was going to stay there. I thought he was going to get traded again this season, and I think this just solidifies that he's going to be leaving. He turned down the extension, and now the Rockets are probably just going to be like, all right, let's trade him away, see what we can get. They're not just going to let him walk for free. And like Doza said, I don't think he's going to want to stay in Houston long-term anyway. And I had brought up a team in the past or when this first went down that it was the Heat. And I think that's still the case. I think the Heat are probably going to look to make some sort of move for him or see what it costs to get him on this expiring deal. Whether they choose to extend him past this year, who knows? But the Heat are going to want to try and make another run in the playoffs and try to get to the finals again. So I think the Heat are a team to look for, and there's no way that Oladipo's on the Rockets past like the trade deadline, to be honest.
I feel bad for Houston, man. They've been in the situation with Harden and now Oladipo in the sense of having two, one being a superstar, one being a very, very good player.
Toxic.
Yeah, and both players at this point appear to want to leave. And because I would agree, I think it's, but I do think I could see him with Miami next year. I could see Oladipo in the Eastern Conference, basically. But I don't see him with Houston. And it's so odd that you see players come to Houston and immediately want out. Then I start to wonder what's that going to look like for John Wall. John Wall gets traded there. He hopes that he's going to have Harden and Cousins to kind of run with him. But then he's left with Christian Wood, who's awesome in his own right. But other than that, I mean, if PJ Tucker is your next best player, I guess Eric Gordon. But overall, I just think that the Rockets are in a weird situation. And right now they're just kind of getting dozed a little bit by some star players. So you hate to see it.
They need to trade him. They can't let him walk. They need to trade him, try and get something back. I mean, the Knicks make a move.
Man. Just get more picks.
Maybe the Knicks make a move. Maybe Dallas makes a move. Try and gets a third star with Luka and Kristaps.
That'd be a good pairing.
I don't know, man. I don't know. Let's move on. Let's talk All-Star. Obviously, the rosters have been out for a couple of days now, but we're starting to see some of these guys that are injured get replaced by, quote unquote snubs, guys that should have made it, didn't. We talk all the time about All-Star and, if it doesn't mean you're good, if you're an All-Star, if there's fan voting. I mean, we saw Caruso, who's averaging 5 points a game, receive, top 10 votes as a guard. So let's dive into this a little bit. What stands out to you? Obviously, we saw Devin Booker get named to the roster. We saw Jason Tatum be named a starter after KD is now out. But let's discuss, whether if you're a replacement, should that count as a formal All-Star selection, like on your resume, so to speak, or should the selection process only count for the initial starters and reserves that are selected by the fans, coaches, and players before injuries? What do you guys think? Ryan, what are your thoughts?
I mean, I think overall, I think the rosters, they look good. Obviously, I've read that there's been talks about expanding the rosters, I think from 12 to 15 spots in the coming season, which would be huge. That would alleviate a lot of the issues and negativity around these results, I think, that exist currently. But for me, being a replacement All-Star, selection, I personally wouldn't be all hyped and excited about that as a player to kind of be an afterthought. I don't consider that a formal selection just because you're in the game. If you're not part of the initial voting, whether it was the starting lineup or the the fan vote or the league vote, if you're not in that initial 12-man roster, then you're not an All-Star. Or to me, there's an asterisk next to your name. So although Booker deserves to be in, I think Sabonis deserves to be in. I would argue there's actually a couple other players over Sabonis that deserve to be in. Mm-hmm. But overall, I do think I wouldn't consider it an All-Star selection, and I would turn down the invite 100p if I was.
Oh, you turn it down?
Yeah, I think so, because you'll always be viewed as the guy that got in because somebody got hurt. And I don't know. I don't think there's a lot of pride in that. I know you would. You love that shit. I just don't. I'm not into that. I think there's just I take issue with the fact that there's only 12 players. I think you need 15 for injuries alone, right? And to ensure you're not overplaying players in this game to protect them for the rest of the season. So you do want to have enough players to kind of spread out minutes. So I do think I'm a big fan of expanding the rosters, but overall, I consider Booker not an all-star. Unfortunately, he's an all-star player, but just because you're a backup or alternate player doesn't mean you're a legitimate all-star, unfortunately. But that's just my hot.
Who do you think he should have replaced? Or who do you think he should have been there instead of? I guess
that's a great question. I look at the rosters right now. Obviously Sabonis was an alternate as well, but I would say probably like a Rudy Gobert, which is tough because the Jazz are first in the West, and you don't want to take away a player from that team. I've
also got to be a guard, right? Is he a shooting guard?
So it's like you look at the rosters. You got Vucevic. I think who was talking about this yesterday. He's plays for Orlando. Orlando will never be good, but Vucevic is always going to ball out, right? So does your team's record, should that play a factor into that? So I would just go with Gobert. You know what I mean? I would take Gobert out and put in Devin Booker, but I feel bad even doing that because Gobert's on the best team in the league right now, and he's a big part of that. But I just think Devin Booker brings more excitement to the game. I'll end by saying that there's got to be a style factor considered here. The game's supposed to be fun, dunks, moves, one-on-one moments, and Gobert doesn't bring any of that. You know what I mean? When Kevin Love was in it, he didn't bring any of that. So to me, it's like bring guys in who are exciting to watch play. Some of these guys' games just don't translate in an all-star setting.
Yeah.
And
Mike, are you going? If you get an invite to replace an injured person, are you going?
100p I'm going because that there is those few guys that got shafted and didn't get into the all-star game. There's 30 other dudes behind those guys that think they're all-stars. There's no way that they're not going to decline it. You know what I mean? I would be absolutely going. And to Ryan's point about only putting exciting players in the all-star game because of the event, which I agree. I mean, it's more of a fun, it's entertainment, it's showtime for everybody. And the Jokic's and Sabonis like, yeah, they're not fun to watch, but dude, they are some of the best players in the league right now, and you can't knock them for not being fun to watch and not like discredit them of being an all-star. That shouldn't be any sort of criteria for it. But 100p I'm going for sure if I'm a replacement. I think this is Booker's second year in a row of being a replacement. Dame was a replacement as well. I think his first or second all-star game.
Yeah.
So I'm not against it.
Oh man. Okay. Well, I guess Ryan is going to just stay at home while we go enjoy a dunk contest and some fun stuff. So Ryan can play COD all you want that weekend.
We'll call it a butt contest because so far, have you guys seen the list of who's in it?
For the dunk?
Yeah.
Let's hear him, Ryan. Tell us.
Anthony's going to win.
It's Cassius Stanley, Anthony Simons, and Obi Toppin. And there's a fourth guy yet to be named or determined.
Jeez.
But
Anthony's winning, dude. I'm telling you.
You got to get a fucking here's my hot take. If you're going to have two all-star rosters, right? East versus West or however they do the captain stuff, one of those guys should be in the dunk contest every year. Like one of those 24 dudes.
Nobody wants to do it though. That's why they get these no-name guys.
No one gets hurt dunking.
It's just not the same anymore. It's just not the same, I guess.
It's fucking not. It's the dunk contest should be the best part, and it's the worst.
I agree. Dunk contest is the main event, but those guys put in a lot of effort into that. Like they practice for weeks. They get like dunk trainers. They get guys those guys put in. It's a lot of work, I think, to be in that dunk contest physically and mentally, and just time consuming. So I get it. I think Anthony's he's got sneaky bounce. He really does have sneaky bounce. I don't know if he's got quite maybe that Obi Toppin. I don't know. Obi Toppin at Zayden had some big dunks.
It's gonna. I think it'll be fun to watch.
He had them between the legs last year in college. Obi on the fast break.
He did.
You know what I mean? And that was fucking sick. I would even go as far as saying take players out of the dunk contest altogether. You bring up a good point, Doza. There's a lot of professional dunkers and trainers out there. Bring in those guys because if you're going just based off like vertical, yes, there's a lot of guys who can jump out of the building in the NBA. But I wouldn't say there's some guys out there other than Levine and maybe Aaron Gordon who are like stylistically fun, creative dunkers. Bring in those guys from I think the Sprite Jam had like a thing a couple years ago. It was like outdoor on like a black court. It was actually pretty sick. It was like a fan vote. The fans voted in like some of the best social media influencer dunkers and all that shit. Bring those guys into the main event. Like, give them an opportunity, give them a platform. Like, that to me is like, that shows you're putting the fans first. You know what I mean? Like, if fans want to be involved in all-star voting, get them out of the roster voting and get them into like the fucking 3-point contest lineup voting. Have them vote for the slam dunk contestants. Like,
there should just always be
anything to do with the fucking all-star game.
There should always just be some regular dude that competes in all 3 events, all 4 events. 100%. Just like either some professional dunker, street ball guy, or just like some guy from some JUCO somewhere that's a sharpshooter and he goes up against Clay in the 3-point contest or something like that.
That'd be sick, just bro. Blast. I totally agree.
I'm telling you, those professional dunkers, though, will come in there and absolutely win it easily. Yeah. There's no way they'd lose. And no NBA player wants to go up against some Joe Schmo. Not that they're Joe Schmoes off the street because they do it for a living, but they don't want to lose.
They'd get embarrassed. Yeah.
Sure. I would love to see the ratings.
That's why I think LeBron hasn't done a dunk contest. Not that I don't think he would have lost back in the day just because he's LeBron, but he was probably scared to lose, to be honest.
100%.
100p?
100p.
Well, speaking of kind of reserves and snubs, so to speak, there's been a lot of chatter now that Booker's in around Mike Conley not being an all-star. Has yet to ever make an all-star game in his entire career. And it begs the question, is Mike Conley the best player to never make an all-star team? He's been in the league for 14 years. He's been consistently one of the best guards. You got to figure, I mean, the Western Conference guard pool has been one of the deepest, over the past decade. He's going up against Steph and Dame and Luka and all those guys every single year. But leading the first place Jazz, being, kind of their rock, so to speak. I think he's their most efficient player. He doesn't put up the craziest numbers, but he's averaging like 17 points a game, 5 assists. Like he is the perfect definition of what you want a Western Conference leading team's point guard to be. You know what I mean? He's like exactly what you want out of a point guard. Should that be rewarded? Is Mike Conley ever going to make an all-star game? Mike, what do you think? Mike Conley, greatest player to never be an all-star.
Well, he's never going to make an all-star game at this point. There's no way. There's way too many good guards. And I also think that he was on, the wrong side of an era where there was a ton of really good point guards throughout the years that he was playing. It's like the Dame effect in his early years where he's not getting in because there's so many damn guards in the league, especially in the Western Conference, that deserve to be in the All-Star and have that name and that notoriety and popularity and all that stuff. I'd have to look at a list of guys that have never made an All-Star game. But I mean, Mike Conley's legit. I mean, if he was in an All-Star game or two, no one would bat an eye at it. They'd be like, yeah, he's legit. At this point, there's no shot he gets in.
It's 33. But
yeah, there's no way. There's no way he gets in. And there's no way he's not popular enough where it's like the Dirk effect in his last season or the D-Wade. They're like, yeah, let's throw him in the All-Star game because, he's been in the league so long. He's been legit. So
here's some other guys that have never been All-Stars. Lamar Odom, Brent Berry,
Richard Jefferson.
Ah, yes, Richard Jefferson. Sabonis, Arvydas Sabonis, other Sabonis. Mike Bibby.
Ron Harper.
Ryan, what are your thoughts on Conley not being an all-star? He ranks really, really well in a lot of those stats that people don't really know what they mean, like efficiency rating and win shares and like all these things that like he has a very impactful position on the team, but he doesn't have the sexy stats like the triple doubles and all these things. So what are your thoughts on Conley, man?
It's tough because I was just looking up on just stats to confirm my point of view, and they actually counter it significantly. So I'm not going to reference stats. And I like Conley. He's always been a very good point guard. Was a great, pick and roll player with Marc Gasol and the Grizz, for, I think 10 plus seasons, Ohio State, play with Greg Oden. That team was fucking dirty. That Ohio State team, like dirty good. Like they should have won the championship that year. But Florida just, with Joakim and Horford.
They were good too.
I know. Yeah. Anyways, I last week or 2 weeks ago, my in-laws were in town and from Utah. They're big Jazz fans. And so I was watching a lot of Jazz games that week on NBA League Pass, which is $30 a month. Holy fuck. It's a lot of money. Luckily I found a way to get a free trial for 8 days. Recommend y'all try that yourselves. Anyways, Conley we watched him play against the Clippers twice, played against, I think, the Sixers. But overall, man, he was just kind of cheeks, man. And maybe it was just a bad week for him, but he would have a decent first quarter. And then when they needed him the most, he would disappear. He shoots a lot more than he should, in my opinion. I'm not a big Conley guy. I think Mike brought up a good point. His opportunity, his window has closed. And I think because now the league's getting, younger every year, right? With these one and done players or these guys coming over from overseas, like the Lucas. So his window has been closed for a few years now, and it's not going to open ever again. And you hate to see it, but I don't think Conley is as good as his stats show. I think he's one of those players that plays good when it's not important, but when you need him the most, it's not like he is going to be your clutch player. Against the Clippers, both games, he was just clanking threes off the fucking side of the rim or side of the backboard, and it was insane. And he kept doing it over and over and over, and I couldn't believe it. I could not believe he kept shooting the ball, but they kept him in. And so all I have to say is I just don't think Conley's stats match his style of play. I don't think he's an exciting player to watch anymore. I think his window has closed, and it will be forever closed. I would put DeMar DeRozan or Trae Young in over him. So
Shout out Zayden.
I know. Gotta go pick him up.
Mike Conley never got a technical foul. Never has gotten a technical foul. Fun stat.
Really?
In his
this is a nice guy.
Year. Just a good dude. Just a good bro.
Just a good average player.
Well, let's move on from that. We got a couple minutes left in the show today. And we're going to – hey, there's little Z.
For everyone listening, Zayden just got on camera.
Yes. Ryan's newborn baby son, Zaydos. There he is.
Hey, what the hell?
Let's talk quick about cards before we wrap this thing up. Brands. There's a lot of brands in the game right now in sports cards. Ryan, being our in-house expert, you want to give us a quick rundown on brands to invest in, brands to avoid. There's a lot out there, a lot to be fooled by. We saw a guy rip open a Panini Prism pack and thought every single one of them was absolute racks because they were just a little bit shiny, not knowing that that's just how the cards come, is all shiny.
That was so funny.
Why don't you give us a quick rundown, Ryan?
Well, to that point you just brought up, that makes me laugh. So, for example, the guy was pulling cards like this. They have a little bit of a reflective silver, base coloring to them, right? And this particular card is a HoopRipz premium stock, which, as you both know offline, I'm a huge fan of this product. It's a new product, just came out, I think, in December. In the past, they've done more of a card stock finish, very basic look. I would even put this in the category of cards to avoid, just because you spend a lot of money on these cards and your chances of a fire pull are pretty low, versus with these, your success rate is 50%. You'll get a blaster or a cello or a hanger, and you'll pull some absolute racks. In the same box I pulled this card, I pulled this silver Rui. Now you can kind of see, hopefully, a bit of a rainbow tint hue to it. That's a silver. So the guy that we were making fun of, Doza, one day, he thought these were all silvers, which in his mind, he just became a millionaire, when in reality, he was pulling a bunch of fucking bases. So I would say invest in HoopRipz premium stock. Avoid the NBA Hoops card stock, because you're going to spend the same amount you're going to spend on these, but you're going to pull a lot less heaters. Another card you want to invest in is probably going to be Prisms. Prisms are beautiful cards. This happens to be a special edition color variation. Ignore the player. I'm not going to highlight Emmanuel Mudiay ever. I would argue he's a draft bust if we're going to go off lottery pick bust.
Wow, yes.
He's bounced around. There's so many leagues. But, yeah, Prism is a very high-quality brand owned by Panini. Prism makes a lot of awesome variations, red, white, and blues, cracked ice from pink, red, and blue. These are very hard to come by, not because they're the supply is low, but because the price of these at the resale market is so high as far as like the sealed wax. For example, like a sealed wax blaster of a Prism is like $180, and that's 32 cards. The Mega is pushing like $300-$400, right?
Jeez.
That's insane. So these cards are out there, but you got to be able to spend some coin on these, you know. But the resale value on these is probably some of the best that there are, both raw and graded. So ever come across Prisms, these are the ones you want to get your hands on because they are going to make you the most money as far as resale, but you're going to have to put out a lot to begin with. But it is an investment. I do think you get your money's worth just because, again, the demand is so high for these, but again, they're not cheap in the resale market. I would say another card to avoid, anything that's a contenders. These cards, if you go to Walmart or Target, you're going to probably find these on the shelves. And if you see them on the shelves after like a couple days or back-to-back days, that's a problem. You know, that means the resellers out there and those snipers, they don't want them. You know what I mean? So, but again, I'm not saying these are bad cards. What I'm saying is you buy these cards, you're not going to pull a lot of heaters. Now, you know, this is a football example. I have some basketball ones and some storage boxes, but you do have a chance to still pull some nice color variations. You have a chance to pull some numbered cards and some one-of-one autos, which are awesome.
Yes.
A buddy of mine pulled a Justin Herbert one-of-one auto the other day. I think it was a blue cracked ice, and that he already sold it raw for I think $3,500, right, on eBay. So again, your scoring and your success rate is probably in the 1% to 2% range. But if you score, my God, you're going to score big. So it's like you want to take that risk. It's kind of worth it. You know, a cello is only like $10. Blasters are like, I think, $18.99. They're not very expensive cards. They're very affordable. They don't resell for a lot more than the retail price, which is nice. But you have to expect almost nothing when you rip open some of this wax. And I think the last one that I'm a big fan of is just Don Russ Optic. Big fan of the Optic cards. They're just very similar to the Hoops Premium. Beautiful cards, have like a nice little, you know, reflective base to them. These also resell for crazy money. Like a Mega, I paid last month $450 for a Mega, and it only has 40 cards in a Mega box, right? Which is insane because a blaster has, I think, 24. So these cards, again, the supply is there, but they are so outrageous in terms of the resale price. But Luka's, especially if you get a Luka Doncic in an Optic first, second, or even third year, those resell raw for $100 or more, right? Just Optic Lukas are huge.
Stupid.
And, you know, same with the Jaws and Zions, those resell for crazy amount of money, both raw and graded. So I would say if you have an Optic in your collection and it's a rookie or an all-star MVP-like player, maybe this one probably wouldn't be considered that, unfortunately, but a LeBron, a Giannis, and Steph Curry, as well as, you know, rookies from last season, like Hero and Rui and Ja. Those are some cards you definitely want to be looking for. And just more for your guys' FYI, in those NBA Hoops card stock, kind of the butt version I was talking about, I pulled from that same pack a Tyrese Halliburton, a little bit of a hollow explosion there for us. So that's a nice looking card, rookie of the year candidate, balling out this season. Didn't play last night against the Hornets, but overall he's had a really strong season. This is one of those cards that you are very blessed to have pulled in a butt pack, which is why it tempts you to want to keep buying, because you're like, shit, if I pull this one, I might pull another one, but I promise you won't. You're going to pull one good one, and the next 10 to 15 waxes are going to be straight cheeks, as we call it. So I was really excited about this one. Wanted to show the bros that got a Halliburton in a Kings jersey, not just in his college jersey anymore. They're starting to put out these new rookie classes in their actual NBA franchises uniforms, and this is just one example. So happy about this one. I'll get this one graded today, or sent out for grading today. In the next episodes, I will tell you guys, grading prices have gone up substantially. PSA just doubled their prices for grading this morning, which is absolute dog shit, but I get it. I get why they're doing it, but I'll dive into that in our next episode as far as why they're raising their prices. But God, that sucks so bad.
Damn. So to recap, Panini Prism.
Yep.
You know, invest in that. Optic, yep. Don Russ, invest in that. Yep. NBA Hoops, anything out of the NBA Hoops collection.
The premium stocks.
The premium stocks, invest in those.
Yeah.
If you're finding Lukas, Jaws, Halliburton,
to us.
obviously LaMelo's, give him to us, please. We'll give you a foot rub or something. Mike will.
Shout out.
Or a shout out.
Happily. I will happily.
Yep, 100p.
Ryan will do all sorts of rubbing for that.
Rub a dub dub.
Whoa, dude. You're on video now, remember?
I got something stuck in my teeth.
Well, hey, that's the show. That's all the time we got. Talking All-Stars, fact or butt, always fun time. Mike, Ryan, camera's on for the first time. Great to see your lovely faces.
I loved it.
Except for yours.
What the fuck? That's it.
So, HoopRipz, thanks for being here. That's all we got. As always, hit the follow button, hit the subscribe button.
Yes, sir.
Alex Hart has left us a dope review on Apple Podcasts. If you haven't done that yet, go do it. 5
Riley,
stars.
get your ass on it. What are you
For
doing?
your boys. Yeah, Riley, geez, we talk about the Suns enough on here. You should be
Yeah.
reviewing us
Yeah,
every day.
dude.
Yep. Make fake accounts.
Hey, tell your boys we're here to stay. HoopRipz. We're going to bring a lot more fun. We're going to be on video. We're going to be doing YouTube, card openings, all that stuff. We're going to get into it. See us at Target, 7 a.m. Doesn't mean you're good, but thanks for being here, boys.
Shout out. No.
Hey, yo.
Whoop. Bye.